Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope that you are having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday as we speed into the weekend in Washington, D.C. area. Everybody, put on your raincoats because it's going to rain, and I'm just going to put out a disclaimer. There may be a power outage. I actually had done a text with somebody in Pennsylvania going, "Are you getting rain down there?" I was like, "No, it's sunny." And as soon as I said that, it just started getting darker and darker and darker and darker, and you hear the rumblings. So is the weather in Washington, D.C. during the summer. That's one thing I want to talk about. Number two, I want to give a special shout out to Brittany Griner, who is over in the United States. She's being detained, in my personal opinion, being detained illegally for political reasons. She went through a trial today. She was found guilty and sentenced to 9 years. Or 9.5 years. I find this ridiculous. I find it repugnant, that African Americans are being used in this tug of war between U.S. foreign diplomatic policy and wars that have nothing to do with our culture, our needs, and our essence. And here we are, we find ourselves again being punked. And when I say being punked, that the people who come up with the policies never, ever, ever suffer the consequences. We suffer the consequences. So please, I haven't said it before on the show, but bring Brittany Griner home. Bring Brittany Griner home. I acknowledge that a travesty has been done. I don't know Mr. Putin, but if you were here, I don't care who would be in between us, but I would call you a punk to your face. And the same people who are scared to face this man down, you are punks too. And this is a black woman, Joe Biden. This is a black woman. You know I have issues with you and black women going all the way back to Anita Hill. And here's another ball drop, old Joe. Damn shame. I like that girl. Had a lot of personality, had a lot of basketball game. You know what? This is the ridiculousness of where we live today. Okay, got those things off the chest. In fact, I might even say more about it because I am genuinely upset and insulted at the way this woman has been treated. The amount of time she spent in jail before she got a trial. She was railroaded. She signed a confession. People are not telling her what the language means. She's not getting a translator. I mean, all this stuff, brothers and sisters, just bears out where we are in society. Sports, politics. If you're not, if you're not of the other, you're not going to get the respect and dignity that is accorded to you. And that's why we find ourselves in this situation today. But our topic today is about a man who has inspired me. I always talk about people, my heroes, but I'm talking about somebody who thoroughly inspired me. When I say this man, who I'm going to be talking about, let's be careful and clear. I never met the man. You hear me? I never met the man. When I talk about Dick Gregory, I love Dick Gregory. That was my mentor. I met him. Muhammad Ali, I met him. Frank Morgan, I met him. Gil Scott-Heron, I met him. But this is the man I never met. But this is a man that empowered me, even up to today, to take challenges in a very, very intellectual and procedural way, and strategic way, looking at how it affects the whole, not from just my intellect, and not in terms of how it affects me or how it benefits me, but how it benefits the whole picture. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of school today on this man. His name is Arthur Ashe. His name is Arthur Ashe. If you don't know about Arthur Ashe and you're African American, slap yourself on the hand once, slap yourself on the hand twice, okay? If your parents didn't tell you, slap them on the hand once, slap them on the hand twice. I'm going to give you history, but I'm going to do it in a pleasant way. This was not a man who was loud. This was a man who was a thinker. This was a man who, from his perch as an athlete, figure out ways to change society and empower the human condition. You're with us here on the Shout Out Show, talking about the quiet giganticness of Arthur Ashe. Let's get started. All right, brothers and sisters, we're back. Before we get into this topic of the quiet giganticness of Mr. Arthur Ashe, I am going to also talk about a project that's going on. That is, of course, the Preacher Moss Muslim Comedy Festival being held here in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Satana. Being held here in Washington, D.C. on Thursday, August the 11th. We have two tapings. One at 6:30, one at 9 o'clock. What is important, brothers and sisters, is that we have to fill the seats. Now, with that being the spot, there is, of course, two ways you can do that. We can charge $35 a ticket, or you can listen to what I'm about to say right now. I am going to give out 10 tickets to people in the Washington, D.C. area. 10 free tickets in the Washington, D.C. area. What you need to do is go to permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. Go to permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. That way you can get your tickets and be registered. Now, let me tell you the two ways you can do it. You can pay $35, or you can go to permissiblelaughter@gmail.com and get 10 free tickets. Okay, that's it. I'm done. So let's get back to our story. I want to talk about, of course, I want to make sure I show some love and appreciation for those who are in our comment section. I have been noticing that more people are watching the show, and let me say this, we even got people who have actually subscribed. I don't know who subscribed. They subscribed. So, Tana, I have to get back to asking people to subscribe again. I'm sorry. I got off. You know, that's my fault. She's looking at me like, it sure is, Negro. That is my fault. I slapped my hand for Arthur Ashe. I'm going to slap my hand because I don't do social media right. Okay, I'm trying, brothers and sisters. I am trying. So let me give a shout out to our stars in the building. First up, we got Sister E coming all the way from Houston, Texas, or Humble, Texas. How you doing, Sister E? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister E, if I come on and I see you and I don't give you a proper salams, you tell your brother I am shorting you on the blessings and the mercy, and of course, the blessings, the mercy, and the peace. So you're gonna get the salams from me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Derek, Jawan. Hope you're doing well. Next up, my man Adam Khan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Adam, you need to get on a train and hobo it down to Washington, D.C. so you can be at the taping. I got 2 free tickets for you. One for each foot because you're going to have bunions from walking. But listen, man, I hope you're doing well. Peace and blessings to you and your family. Tell my West Indian family, my Trinis, I miss them. I hope they're doing well. And tune into the show. All right? Shout out. Next up, Arthur Ashe, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. Adam, if you're still there, we're going to make you an ambassador at some point in time because Arthur has been promoted to be an envoy to the show. Arthur, man, we hope you're doing well. Peace and blessings be upon you and your family, my good friend. As always, a pleasure and a blessing to see you on the platform. Next up. Oh, I don't know who this lady is. Oh, Mary Moss. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Mama San. I hope you're doing well. Brothers and sisters, love every effort that your mothers and fathers do for you. They don't have to do for you, but sometimes they shouldn't do for you. My mother tried to kill me with a sandwich. She tried to make a rap, and I said, Mama, have you ever made a rap before? She said, no. And I thought that would be enough to deter her from making a rap. My mom bought this this armadillo looking sandwich downstairs, and I just want to tell you how much meat it had in it. It was so much turkey breast in that sandwich, it might seriously affect Thanksgiving come later this year. We might have a turkey shortage. So she had 2,000 pounds of turkey on this sandwich and about 150 pounds of mustard slathered all over it. And here's the blessing of my mother, man. Lobby, please. She had 2 of those sandwiches. Mama, love you. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings be upon you. Next up, Eric Carter. Why Lake my salon for too long, but I call it E. My man, Eric. I'm in DC, so I can say Eric. I'm tired of saying Eric. Eric Carter, my man. Good to see you on the show. Always supporting the SOS. Appreciate you, man. Allah continue to bless you and your family. Next up. Oh, okay. She said, I always do, and all is well. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Ree. Next up, what we got here? Got Sister Sakina Mujahid. Why look at my salon rahmatullahi barakatuh. She's thinking about opening up a store down in Charlotte. Make sure you send the watch for her. Not in Charlotte, like on the outside of Charlotte. She's trying to do some halal business. Sister Not Talk. Anytime you need any advice from me, you know you got it. But let's make the dua, man. We're talking about Black Muslim sisters trying to do business. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. All right. Next up, Sister Ree. Get off my baby cake sandwiches. Sound like those meatballs she cooked too. Now, how you gonna tell me to get off my mom about this big catcher's mitt of a sandwich she made, and you try to eat meatballs that was big as a wagon wheel? You ever eat till you get tired? If you've been eating on a meatball like this, you go like this. That is a meatball. Okay, and we got Sister Satana Whitfield. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My partner in crime. All right, Salim up. Hey, what's going on, Salim? He sent an email. You got tickets for the DC show, Salim, my main man. I'm gonna get Kadir. I'm gonna get everybody. See, so you got tickets, Salim? Text me. I'll text you. You know how we do. We'll get it together. Check with anybody else, Salim, that needs tickets, because you know how folks. We might do email, but we ain't doing no Instagram stuff like that. We're not doing that. We ain't have no Zoom meeting that lasts more than 11 minutes. You know, that's what it is. You start thinking that those are real people touching the screen. I seen that. All right. So listen, let me get off that. Let's talk about this thing. This whole idea of the quiet giganticness. And I say giganticness. I don't even know if that's a word, Satana, but it didn't come up bad in the spell check. So I said the quiet giganticness of Arthur Ashe. Let me tell you a story to give you guys a little bit of a background of why this man is so important to me. Not just in the world of sports. I'm talking about being a Black man. I'm talking about being an athlete, but I'm talking about being a critical thinker. Okay? He's the guy that introduced to me the importance of critical thinking and activism. So here we go. I was about 15 years old. It was during the summer. I was in Danville, Virginia. Now, I was a tennis player by this time. I played all the way, middle school, high school. I was a tennis player. I played on the tennis team. Okay, and I liked it. Your boy can hit some balls. Let's just say that. I was with my cousin Earl and my cousin Jason, and this was a very momentous day. The reason it was momentous is because my cousins, because they loved me, had bragged on me to this white kid across town in Danville, in a nice part across town. We were in Danville, Virginia. They bragged to this white kid who could really play tennis. My cousin can beat you. They did. They said, my cousin is better than you. In fact, they said, my cousin could crush you if he wanted to. And of course, the white boy said, bring him on. And so I find myself in a bit of a tennis match, but also a potential race situation behind a tennis match. And here's the reason why. Because my cousins had accepted the challenge for me. And not only did they accept the challenge, they bet money that they didn't have. So the impetus was on me is, you got to win because we can't pay out. So I can't remember the white kid's name. But it was a big deal in the house. Even my uncle Earl, may Allah be pleased with him, put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Do us proud." He meant like do our people proud. In a nice way, say, "Nigga, don't you lose to this cracker." That's what he was saying. That's what he meant. I got it. Long story short, your boy Preacher Moss, I absolutely destroyed this boy. One set, I beat him 6-1. I ran him around. I beat him like he stole something. I broke him like the Ten Commandments. This boy was hurt. He didn't even want another set. We were playing $20 a set, $20 a set. I got that's now this big money now. This is back in the early 80s. This is like 82. This big money right here. Long story short, the kid paid off. We blew that money at McDonald's and took some food home on Shirley. We had a fun time. But let's get to the reality of it. There's no competition. There's no confidence in playing that game had I not seen years of Arthur Ashe play that game into his 30s. And only into his 30s because he had a heart attack and had to have open heart surgery. He had to retire from the game. There is a documentary on HBO Max called Citizen Ash. I would recommend all of you watch it. You see, I can enjoy the game of tennis more than Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was a nerd, had the hormel glasses. He spoke real quiet. He was a nerd outside of his tennis game. He was a nerd, a pushover outside of his tennis game. Here was the interesting thing that I have to broach for all of you. He was a giant. He was an absolute giant. And while I may joke about this tennis game that I played with this white kid, let's be real serious. It's because of Arthur Ashe I could play that game. Arthur Ashe couldn't enjoy the rage or engage the rage that he went through as a segregated man in the South, playing a game where everywhere he went, he was the only black person playing it. And the only reason he could get to that point was because he had to be the best or to beat the best. So I could have a little game with some white kid down in Danville, Virginia, and claim some kind of artificial victory for our people, but he was the one that claimed it. Arthur Ashe spent his early career in Richmond, Virginia, segregated Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the state. He grew up on segregated courts. He grew up not being able to play tournaments because of the color of his skin. And that rage seethed in him. But as it was for so many black men in the South, you could not express that rage. It could get you killed or your family killed or run out of town, both. My respect for Arthur Ashe, though I called him a nerd, is that in 1968, he goes to a metamorphosis. That people are looking at Arthur Ashe, particularly from the inner city, going, man, look at that old white boy playing that white boy game. Look at that old white boy. And as the activism moved along from Ali to Olympics to all of this, they asked Arthur Ashe, say something for the people. And he refused. He said, I don't have anything to say. And they labeled him an Uncle Tom. But in 1968, he did something extraordinary. Now, let me give you the breakdown of 1968. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. And in 1968, he was the first black man to win the U.S. Open. The first black man to win the U.S. Open, brothers and sisters. He was the only black man playing the U.S. Open. And when he won, he took this opportunity. He could have spent it on money, endorsements. He took the opportunity to talk about the condition of African Americans in the United States. And he spoke about it from the process and the perception of being a black man coming from the South. It is the most unique, courageous thing that you could talk about. He was so ahead of his time. So ahead of his time. And I want all you little young activists to hear this. He was so ahead of his time that in 68, he was the man that mentioned that there was a person down in South Africa who had been in prison under false pretenses, under the cause of apartheid, if you knew what that meant back in 68, and his name was Nelson Mandela. He was the first one to talk about Nelson Mandela. Why is that important? Because when I went to college, and I was trying to play on a tennis scholarship, when I went to college, one of the things that I would protest about was what? Apartheid. And the fact that Nelson Mandela had been locked in prison unjustly under this cruel system. I can't claim original thought on this thing, brothers and sisters. I can't claim it. What I'm telling you is, this is a man with quiet intellectual capacity and rage. Controlled rage. I can take all this rage and creatively beat people. This is not even inclusive of the fact that he played in South Africa, the first black man to play in a South African tournament. Despite the fact he said with apartheid, he just want to drop a whole hydrogen bomb over there. They turned him down 3 times. And he goes to South Africa to play a play I couldn't stand, Jimmy Connors. I felt like he was just I almost said Peckerwood. Oh, I guess when I said it, I did say Peckerwood. Okay, he was a Peckerwood. Okay. How many times I said Santana? Don't worry about it. He lost in South Africa to this dude. And the whole idea was to go down and beat everybody in front of these white people to show how superior he was. But he did something different. He spent time with the children and let them know that he was a thinker. And he reminded them that they were thinkers too. And as he progressed and he took on this mantra from the scope of tennis that don't have a whole lot of black people. This is for Serena. This is for Venus. Althea Gibson was before him. But this is for Yannick Noah. Y'all don't even know who some of these people are I'm talking about. Because that's how rare it was for blacks to play tennis. But he took a platform that talked about the dignity that was due of African Americans and oppressed people. Now, here's where he's different as a civil rights leader. Civil rights leaders often have a difficult time making a transition to being humanist. And we're going to talk about that briefly before the show ends. Because I got to, and remember, people, I'm not going to forget, if you tune into the show right now, go to Permissible Laughter at gmail.com. You can get free tickets. Salim got tickets. I'm going to be at the Masjid tomorrow, Masjid Muhammad. I'm going to be saying the free tickets are going to be gone. Look, you like that, Satan? Free tickets are going to be gone. That's the way we do it at the Masjid. All right. We're going to be back. Satanic, go ahead and run the ad. I'll be back. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear Don't Get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient, urgent, Care, home of the smart patient.
All right, just a quick note on these tickets. If you, here's the deal. If you already purchased a ticket, we're going to give you a comp ticket. It's going to be 2 for 1. So we're going to make sure that's taken care of. What was that note from Salim Santana? Thank you, brother. Trying to get it in, get him in the house. It's right down the street from Masjid Muhammad, so I know how we're going to do. And this is my brother, Walaikum Assalam, Rahmatullahi Barakatuh. JT, good to see you, man. I think we got to get JT down here to DC. That's probably just for selfish reasons, not even for the show. I just want to see my brother hang out. Okay, so let me get to this thing about why Arthur Ashe has acquired giganticness, if you will. I talked about his heart attack. It ended his career. But before it ended his career, he won Wimbledon. You're going to look very hard to find a black man that won Wimbledon because there isn't any. You're going to find 2 black women that won in Wimbledon, and it was enough to make up for black men. I'm talking about Serena and Venus. But even Serena and Venus will tell you why this man is important. Because even though he left the sport that he loved due to medical reasons, there's something else you need to understand about why he's a giant. He became ill. He had a heart attack, a very serious heart attack, and some other ailments that required a lot of blood transfusion. And in the blood transfusion, he didn't contract HIV. He contracted AIDS. And I always felt bad for him, remembering the press conference where he had to talk about being AIDS, having AIDS before, no, not having AIDS, dying of AIDS before he could be comfortable with it and talk to his family, because the feeding frenzy at the time was very, very one-sided and unfriendly to people who contracted AIDS. It was a slap in the face, it was a dark mark, but he handled it with grace. In the last part of his life, you think it would be hanging with his young daughter and his wife. It was Arthur Ashe Foundation to defeat AIDS. It's amazing that I can even talk about this because I started off the show talking about a shallow victory of $20 for beating some white kid in tennis. And I wind this thing up talking about a giant who advocated for AIDS with foundations and talking to children who had AIDS and filling in the blanks on this mystery disease that it was present and pervasive at the time. And he did it with grace. He did it with class. I know some people go, what are you talking about, people? Preach. I'm going to tell you about, he impacted me. As much as I am a comedian through the blessings of a Pryor and a Dick Gregory and a Red Fox, I'm a better comedian and a better humanitarian because I had people to look at like Dick Gregory and like Arthur Ashe. You'll find in the old wind-ups a clip of Barack Obama talking about 2 athletes that influenced him the most. One was Muhammad Ali, and you guessed it, the second one was Arthur Ashe. So let me wrap up on this, if I can. The immediacy of his brilliance is missing today. But it's out there. It's in books, and you got to find out about that, and you got to celebrate these people. The same way we had a show about Bill Russell, I had to have a show about Arthur Ashe. Because if you look at some of the interviews, in 1964, Arthur Ashe was not with Muhammad Ali and Bill Russell. But in later interview shows with Dr. Harry Edwards, you saw Bill Russell, you saw Jackie Robinson, you saw football players, and you saw Arthur Ashe. And Arthur Ashe, pardon the pun, as a tennis player, he was holding court. So look, I got to get out of here. You guys have been amazing. I want to give a shout out to Aunt Maxine K, the founder and proprietor of BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. She is not feeling well today. Let's give her some duas and make sure that she's doing well. I thank you for the ticker, Satana. It's just that she's not feeling well. So I just want to make sure we got duas going out for her. Like I said, go to permissibleLaughter@gmail.com to get your tickets. If you have purchased tickets, let us know so we can comp you. This is about being fair and rewarding your support. 2 shows, one at 6:30, one at 9:30. These are taped shows. I can tell you a lot about the shows, but I'm going to tell you about the importance of people of color producing content. Not the Netflix and not that, because they don't have your interests at heart, brothers and sisters. Not that we're doing anything special. We're doing something that's needed. When you do something that's needed, you need the people that you're trying to work with. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have been tremendous. Take care of yourselves. Get your tickets. Roberto Rashid, may I suggest a program on Paul Robeson? Another, not so. You know what, Roberto, I did do a show on Paul Robeson. Sedona, didn't I do a show on Paul Robeson? Yeah, I did a show on him. But you know what, Roberto, thank you so much for reaching out, because I don't mind doing another show on Paul Robeson because he was such a large character. So thank you for reminding me. You tune into the Shout Out show. You remind me, brother, I'm going to do that show on Paul Robeson. You know, my first introduction to Paul Robeson was a movie called Emperor Jones, an amazing piece of work. So we got to get out of here. This is our Friday. People, with the lead-in for the show coming in, we're doing the show on August 11th. Do not be surprised if you see a pop-up show on the Shout Out show just talking about getting ready for the show and why it's important. This is what we do. I'm Preacher Mars on behalf of myself and Satana Whitfield. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Shout Out show.